Good morning. So I'm not sure how the internet connection is going to be because it's raining. So I'm not sure how the internet connection is going to be. I think we're able to do this. I'm still going to do this and it'll be recorded for later use. So I do think there may be issues with reception. So I just want to put that out there. So hello, Cindy and George. How are you? I am happy that you're here. And I hope you guys are feeling well. I think you are. And who else is here? So just to say this, that if something happens, because when I try to look at my connectivity, in one moment it had 0.6, it usually needs to have a minimum of 4. And then the next time I checked was 35. So I do think there's issues with all the rain and the wind that we're having. So I'll record it and hopefully you'll be able to practice. Hi, Dina. I'm glad that you're here. So hopefully, and if I look clear right now, we did actually upgrade our entire system also. So we have a more souped up internet connection if it's not being blowed and rained on. All right. So this week is the last week of the 8-week session. I teach in 8-week sessions and then take a week off. This until we have the time off. Oh, Eleanor and Stan. Eleanor and Stan, I'm so happy that you're there. I miss you guys. So I miss you all. And yeah, so let's do this yoga and stress reduction. Perfect. So I'm going to begin. Let me see. All right. So I'm going to begin today's practice, and I'm going to use a chair because I'd like to really ground my energy. I'd like today to be focused on, when we think of this word stress, I want you to think about something, that we're here today because our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, great, because they survived in whatever was going on in the times that they were alive. And I know that when I read about my heritage, and because I am 100% British, both of my parents were born in Scotland. My 3 out of my 4 grandparents were born in Scotland, 1 in Northern Ireland. So all of my genetic makeup is from Great Britain and Ireland, all of it, 99.8% DNA on those DNA tests. And then when I read about the Black Plague that came there and wiped out 1/3 of the population, I think about my ancestors that survived. And so each generation, there's survival. So where we are today with ourselves is because of that survival. And a part of what helps people survive is many things that are in our control. So it is the foods we eat, the things we do, the practices, the behaviors that we have, our mindset, how we deal with things. And then there's a part that's not in our control, and also not even known. So the subconscious or invisible part of our brain, our limbic loop, our amygdala, that's happening in the background. So when we practice yoga, we are trying to get that part, that chatty, loud part of us that is invisible, that is not in our control, that has kept us safe. We are trying to get that part to take a break, to relax. And the stimulation to that invisible part of our brain is what we bring into our being. It's what we see, what we put in front of ourselves, what we listen to. And so today, let's take this hour or whatever it is to actually be here in this moment, release what we can from our physical body, try to stay grounded. So to begin with, the reason why I chose that chair is because the elements of earth and water are very grounding. And when you elevate your legs, you allow gravity to push down on you from an opposite direction on your feet and deeply root or seat the hip in the socket. It's very grounding for the whole pelvic area of the body. And so I'd like you don't have to do a chair. If you'd like to, you can, or pillows that are elevating your legs, or if you have a wall space, going near a wall where you can elevate your legs so that you can allow the torso to be very grounded, and then allow the legs to go in with gravity, in a different direction. So the gravity is pushing from the way that the blood flows, the way that the fluids flow, so that the element of water can actually flow to your torso, and that the bones, the earth element that's in the body, can ground our mental energy. So we set ourselves up physically so that we can allow the mental energy to ground. And then taking this time to make ourselves in this lifetime, in these days, to be as strong as it can be. So, with that said, I want you to find a seat, whatever that is. We're going to begin with a breathing technique to bring our awareness here. You can get a blanket and fold a blanket and sit on a blanket that's elevated with your legs in a crisscross position. So you could do this. For those of you with knee issues, this seems to be a better way for many people with knee issues to be. So this right here could be the way that you begin your practice today. This very intentional beginning and this commitment that you're showing up to something so much deeper than I'm just going to get on a mat and stretch and strengthen my body, but so much deeper, really getting all aspects of us to be here. The other thing is the Vajrasana, which is the knees bent, feet flat. And for those that have this in their body, please try to maintain it. It's a very good sign of health. Some of you have lost that already, so that's why the other position may be better for you. And just find what's better. And also with Vajrasana, to make it a little more doable or a little more relaxing, is to take a block and to place a block where the tailbone section is. So the block goes between your ankle joint. And this feels really lovely, and it's a nice way to put your body in a position that allows the spine to be open, allows the lungs to move in all ranges of motion, and allows us to really be in a comfortable place, so we're not distracted by the physical body. So the breathing technique I'm going to do is 4-7-8, and this is taught by Dr. Andrew Weil, is where I learned this at a yoga conference. And he said there's two things he does when he travels the world to teach. One of them is to teach this breathing technique. But 1 second. I feel like I need to sneeze. Sorry. Oh gosh. Okay. So the two things that Dr. Weil does when he travels around the world, number one is to teach this breathing technique. And he teaches it everywhere he goes, in every hospital setting, in every group of doctors he's in front of. He's a Harvard trained MD, and he's very into integrative medicine. And the other thing he teaches is to take turmeric or turmeric. Both ways are okay to say, turmeric and turmeric, for anti-inflammatory properties. He also said that he was saying in the late 1990s that vitamin D would be the most important vitamin. And vitamin D is a vitamin hormone. It's both, or it behaves in the body as both. So I think this guy really knows what he's saying. So the 4-7-8 relaxing breath. We're going to inhale for a count of 4. We're going to hold for a count of 7. And we're going to exhale for a count of 8. 4, hold for 7, exhale 8. I will do the counting for you. He said you should only do 4 rounds at a time when you're first getting used to this, regulating your breath in this way 4 times. And then when you get good at this, you could do 1 in the morning, 1 at night, or you could do 8 rounds when you're doing this. It's a nice way to keep our active brain, that invisible, involuntary part of the brain, the subconscious. It's a way to keep it active and very present moment, and to actually shift into a different part of the brain. So the tongue position, what you're going to do is you're going to take the tongue and place the tongue where the mouth, the top of the teeth and the roof of the mouth meets. And it's very gentle. You let your tongue go there. It's actually a mudra, a position that we put our body in. So you put your tongue where the teeth and the roof of the mouth meet. And when you exhale, it's like this. So you allow the mouth to be open, the breath comes out. You'll actually hear an audible sound when the breath comes out of your body. So the inhale is through the closed Mouth, it's through the nose. Closed mouth through the nose. Hold, everything is stopped. And the exhale, the mouth opens, the breath comes out, and you'll hear the sound. So I'm also going to have you do one more thing to be very active here. If you take your thumb, it doesn't matter which one, it could be both. Take your thumb, push your thumb to your pointer finger. So you could do that during the first breath or at the end of the first breath. Then you'll move to the second breath, which is the next finger, to the third breath, to the fourth breath. Now, this is just a way, if right now you have a very active mind, this is a way to ground your energy. If that's too confusing for you, just listen to what I'm saying and just follow along. Okay. So, wherever you are, get yourself comfortable, close your eyes. Begin by placing your tongue where the roof of the mouth and the top of the teeth meet. Let the tongue rest there. Keep the mouth closed, breathe in through the nose. Start to slow down the breath, breathing in through the nose. I want you to think about before this moment, were you only breathing in through your nose, or do you know or not if you're breathing in through your mouth too? So it's hard to know. Do we walk around with our mouth open? Do we breathe with our mouth? Are we breathing with our nose? Because it's involuntary, subconscious, and invisible happening in the background. We don't know that. So let's be fully aware here with the breath. If you're going to do the finger position, the thumb will touch the pointer finger to begin on one hand or both, whichever you'd like. The tongue is resting where the top of the teeth and the roof of the mouth meets. Let's take a breath to clear. Inhale. Keep your mouth closed. Exhale. Let's begin. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Open your mouth. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, open mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Last round. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Open your mouth. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let go of everything. Keep your mouth closed. Let your tongue relax. Breathing in and out through the nose. That begins to turn on the volume control of the relaxation zone in the body, which is the zone where the body repairs, heals itself, digests the food, takes in the nutrients from whatever you're eating, and doesn't pay attention to the story in the mind and to that chronic stimulation of the sympathetic branch or of the fight flight branch of the nervous system. We're going to bring ourselves down into the floor so that we can ground our mental energy into our body. We could put our body into a physical position so that all of the body parts, the bones, the fluid part of your body, your lymph, your water, your blood, can start to pool or waterfall down into your torso. So bring yourself onto the floor. Make sure you support your head with something. If it's chilly where you are, put a blanket underneath your head and one on top of your body. Either your legs are supported by pillows or a chair. And then allow the knees to be a little bit out to the side. So allow a little external rotation in your hips, if that feels appropriate. Let your hands come onto your belly.
And begin to breathe deep down to the belly so that the movement of the belly, you could detect it underneath your palms. And then with the eyes closed, begin to notice your body. Find comfort. Notice the back of the spine, the rib cage area, the low back, the pelvis. Notice if that feels relaxed. Move in a way that maybe feels a little more comfortable to you. And then if you'd like to add a little postural correction, you could press your head into the prop that you have underneath. Lift the upper back up and slide the shoulder blades towards the center of the spine, and then let them rest on the floor. And then soften your body with that. Depending on what's going on inside your body, that may stretch some of those deep stabilizing aspects of the joints, the spine, shoulder girdle. Hands are on the belly. The awareness is to the belly as you breathe in and breathe out. So we're here today in this moment. Let's be here. Notice if your mind does go to the past, something that no longer exists, or if your mind wanders to the future, something that is not real and may not happen the way you imagine it to happen. I've heard that we have about 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and that 90% of those thoughts are repeating thoughts. And then I looked that up, and it's very hard to detect how many thoughts we have a day because the mental processes, there's so many aspects to that, so intricate, all the neurological firing with the neurons from one to the other. So let's take a break. Let's give our brain a break right now and drop down as if you're taking an elevator down from your head to your belly. You could even visualize this elevator. You're on it. There you go down, past the heart, past the lower ribs. Here you are in the belly. And begin to feel your inhale pressing into the hands that are resting on the belly. And the exhale as the belly moves back towards the spine. Be in your body, noticing your spine, the ligaments and muscles around your spine, your lower rib, feeling your breathing muscle, the diaphragm inhaling, feeling the belly respond. And let's do a little deeper grounding aspect of your breath. Breathing towards the sides of the belly on your next couple of breaths. You breathe in, you feel your belly getting wider on the sides. Pay attention to that, really notice. And depending how deeply you breathe, there actually may be some spinal release here for those of you with lower back issues. As you add a little bit of movement into that spine, and then maybe even the act of having the legs up could be very grounding and relaxing for the low back. And then I'd like you to start to breathe in and breathe backwards. You could follow your breath in if you like, following it in through the nose, down past the lower ribs towards the back of your body. And feel this gentle pressure pressing towards the floor. Notice if that feels releasing and relieving for you. Depending on the curvature of your low back, depending on where you may have some issues in these tissues, being very aware of what is therapeutic for you, for your body. This is the only package we have for this life. So become very acquainted with it, knowing what it needs, where it gets relief, starting to notice where things feel good, and do that more often, the things that feel good. When you breathe down to your lower body, feel your breath pressing downward towards the pelvic floor where the legs attach to the body. Notice if you hear any digestive sounds in your body from anything you may have eaten. When we hear digestive sounds, that's a good sign that the body's actually busy digesting. And if you're able to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, that branch of the nervous system is for digestion. That's one of the roles. So allow this grounding breath to come in. Feel the lower belly area, the top, the back, the sides, the bottom. And on the next few breaths, the diaphragm, the bottom of the rib cage, as it presses down and you feel all of this stuff, there's also a rebound pressure that lengthens the spine above it. So see if you could feel as the diaphragm moves down, a movement upwards towards the heart. Almost like a lengthening or a separation in the middle of the body. Wherever your legs are, your upper leg bone, that's the largest bone in the body, the femur bone. Feel it rooting down towards your pelvis, towards the floor. If it's elevated, the higher it's elevated. If the legs are up against the wall, feel the heaviness of the leg grounding itself in the hip joint. The back of the hip joint is not where the weight-bearing component is. It's the front edge where most of the weight-bearing is. So to have this deeply rooted hip joint is relaxing. The hip is like a lemon inside of a teacup. So visualize that deeply set hip joint. And then feel the pelvis, the pressure at the back of the pelvis, the base of your spine, your sacrum bone. Feel the body there. Feel that sacrum bone. Bring your awareness there. See if you could soften and disperse any pressure or tension. So it is a triangle-shaped bone in the center of your pelvis. See if you could soften the edges. You could use an exhale for this. So as you exhale, you feel that pressure dissipate and soften outward all around, like the rays of the sun. Stay very involved with your breath and all the things you feel and you notice. And then take 3 more breaths like this, noticing whatever you notice. Notice where your feel-good zone is. What feels good? What feels releasing or relieving? Finishing up that last breath, bring your awareness at the end of that breath to your pelvis, largest bony structure of the body. Feel the heaviness of your pelvis as the muscles that support and mobilize the pelvis are relaxed. Your spine, feel the heaviness of the spine as the spine also is in a relaxed position. And now the fluids that were compressed out of the joints to the surrounding tissue of the spine have all come back in to the spine to bathe the spine. So the water element, the moisture element of your spine with the fluids that came back from the surrounding area back into the spine. Feel those shoulder blades on the floor and the heaviness of the rib cage. Allow it to soften. Feel your arm bones as the upper arm bone gently moves towards the floor with gravity. Feel the heaviness of your head and the relaxation in the neck as it does not have to do work to hold that heavy head up. Average head's about 10 pounds. So feel that weight in the floor, feel the heaviness, feel the neck, feel the rib cage, the arms, spine and pelvis. Feel the left leg either resting on pillows or the chair or the heel up against the wall. Feel that left leg deeply rooted in the hip joint. The fluids of the leg draining down towards the pelvis and then flowing beautifully, almost like a puddle or a pool or a big lake of fluids for the heart to move around quickly. Bring your awareness to the right foot, the right leg. Feel whatever your leg is touching, the heaviness of the bones of the leg, and that hip joint deeply rooted in the socket. Bring your awareness to your fingers, your toes, as you begin to move and bring some movement into your body. And then notice how that feels. How you're able to just, bam, ask for something and it happens. That the neuron from the brain went all the way down to the toes to start bending them for you, and the foot. And then bring the legs straight up to the air and then wiggle the legs. And that you're able to tell your legs to wiggle. Fingers are moving, bending, the wrists get involved, and then the hands are up, allowing even more settling, shaking, 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 letting whatever is getting dislodged to float down or cruise on down to the body, to the hip, to the shoulder, and then draw the knees into the chest. Feel the compression of the upper thighs against the low belly. Feel that. Feel how the low back presses into the floor and rocking side to side. And then rocking onto the side. Cradle your head in your hand, then place the other hand on the floor in front of you, looking down at that hand as you lead with your shoulder and bring yourself up to seated.
And then noticing that for all of that time, first of all, notice how you feel. Notice if there's a heaviness, if there's a relaxation. Notice if there's a grounding of the mental energy. And then notice how often you were able to be somatically involved in your body, feeling and noticing. And when is the last time you thought about your pelvis or your hip joint or your sacrum or your ribs or your spine? For those of you with low back issues or spinal issues or shoulder issues or issues in any other tissues, yeah, the awareness goes there. For most of the time, it's not. So dropping into the body can be very therapeutic when it comes to that invisible subconscious part of our brain and not being in that zone. Let's come to I'm thinking. All right. Let's come to a Navasana pose. Take your hands underneath your thighs, a little rock and roll here from front to back on your mat, feeling yourself rocking across that tailbone area and sacral area, the bones of the pelvis. Feel that happen, and then bring yourself up into a Navasana boat pose. So we need to keep this package strong that we live in, because if we don't, then when I ask the question about how often does your body talk to you, for some of you, it may be all day, every day. So let's not have that happen. Working on strengthening our body. So you can hold on behind here, or you can bring your arms out to the side, whatever works for you. If you want to come into full Navasana is straight legs. Do what's appropriate for you. Reach your heart up. Find in your body what feels appropriate. Contract your core. You could even do one leg at a time. If you're ready to advance to a little bit more of a full Navasana boat pose, take one more breath. Take your hands behind your legs. And then, if full or even the half where your hands are off is not appropriate for you, hold on. Do what's right for your body. If you have osteoporosis, reach to the side and come down with your arm like this. And if you don't, you can challenge your core a little bit more. So first you're going to rock to your tailbone, and then try to get the sacrum, which is in the pelvis. So contract the core, push the belly back towards the spine. Try to get the sacrum to touch. Try to get the top edge of the pelvis to touch, and then the lower spine to touch. Going slow if you can, depending on where you're at in terms of strength, flexibility, issues in your body. It'll all be different. Let's take our arms out to the side. This is scarecrow arm position. Scarecrow arm position, the upper arm bone, put it wherever your body will let you. If you go too high, for those of you with shoulder issues, that will not feel good. You'll need to be a little lower. For those without shoulder issues, you could go a little higher. Just do what's appropriate. Take your legs, heel toe them all the way off the mat, and let's begin to do a little bit of side to side here. And at first, keep your tushy on the floor. So don't go too big. We just began to move the body. We need to warm up, lubricate, and there should be a lot of fluids in this region from the way we began today. But allow the movement, the fluids to come into the body, allow the stretch to happen, allow the body to feel safe, and then start going a little bit bigger. So the tushy cheek can rock off the floor, but go slow, because you are going to be in the low back. And for some of you, if there's a protection there, if there's a fear there, if you're someone with issues in that part of your body, then your body may respond by not liking that and seizing up. So if the tushy comes off, be careful. The next time your legs go over to the left, stay there. Reach your right hand away from you and stretch your entire right side body as much as you can. Be in your body to feel what's appropriate range of motion, and then try to create as much range of motion as you can safely. Stretching the shoulder joint, the hip joint, knee gets involved here. Take one more breath, and of course the spine. And then you're going to come back to center. It's one of my favorite ways to stretch my body. So anytime I find myself on the floor, if stretching my body is the goal, coming into this windshield wiper action at the lower legs, and then stretching my side, it's a great way to open up your body. Let's reach the hand away. Take one more breath. And then let's go ahead, bring yourself back to center. Take your feet on the floor. Let's lift the pelvis off the floor. Draw the knees into your body. We're going to go into a twist. So another wringing out of the body. Let's take, you have a block or something or a pillow. You may need it. We're going to go to the right. The arms go out to the side. Try to keep the shoulder blades on the floor as you let your knees go over to the right. Now, for some of you, you may need a block or something underneath or something in between. And then if you feel a lot of tension and your left shoulder blade wants to come off, let that happen. So twisting is a very individual movement. You need to feel what feels right in your body and become really good at feeling what is appropriate for you. You could hold on to the top of your left leg if you'd like. The left arm is to the side, and then you see what happens. Should you straighten your arm or bend your arm? Just feel here what feels right for you. You're trying to create as much rotation as possible so that the heart faces up towards the sky
and the hips face off to the right. And then create space in your left waist. So move the left top pelvis away from the left lower ribs. It's a deep internal thing. You need to try to find that in your own body. Breathing down to your belly. Feel the tissue stretch. Sounds kind of weird, I know, tissue stretch. And then last breath, we're going to go to the other side. So I like to move with one knee at a time because having spinal rotation, which is what we just had, that's rotating the spine, having spinal rotation, it's important to move with awareness when you do that. I'd say a lot of the lower back issues, or when someone injures their back, usually they're bending and rotating the spine. So to find safe movement in your body, as you go over, the shoulder blades on the floor, you have to feel what feels appropriate to you as you lengthen, and go slow. Don't just throw your bag of bones around. Try to let that right shoulder blade stay on the floor. Feel what you feel here. Come into it softly and use props wherever you need the props for your body. Begin to soften and allow the exhales to be softening. Breathing down. Right shoulder blade is near or on the floor, unless, of course, your body said that's a little bit too much tension. Try to create space in your right waist. Slowly but surely, you loosen what's tight. You release tension where tension is. You create more space in your joints. Which will free up range of motion, increase range of motion. And a lot of the pain that many feel is in the joint spaces. Take one more breath. And then you're going to bring one knee up at a time. It's also important to note too where you're at mentally in your mind, depending on what's going on. Sometimes a slower, more grounded practice is necessary to keep your mind really active. Going slower is actually harder when it comes to yoga because we have to be so aware of the moments. Let's take the blanket away from the back of the head and put the block or a rolled up towel or something between your legs. And then you're just going to let the feet go where they go so you're not walking too close to your body. Let's release some tension in the upper back and the neck area. So allow the hands to go down by the side of the body and the thumbs are up towards the sky. Walk your feet together or walk your feet closer together so that they're the distance of about 4 to 6 inches. So don't have the feet wider than the knees. And feel this in your body. You're not going to see it. It's just something to try to find and feel your way through. Then you're going to squeeze the block. Allow the low back to move to the floor. So you squeeze the block and you posteriorly tilt your pelvis. And then you press your feet into the floor, squeeze the block, inhale. Lift the left hand up and let your head rotate slowly to the right. Don't pick your head up and move it. Let the cervical spine find that rotation. And then you exhale to lower. You inhale, squeeze the block, push the feet into the floor, let the head rotate to the left, the right hand comes up. You lead with the thumb touches the ground overhead, and you exhale to lower. Inhale to rise, exhale to lower. When you feel the weight coming from when the pelvis lifts up, feel the weight go to where your heart is, and maybe towards the upper back, but not towards the head or the neck, or towards but not in the head or the neck area. So if you lift pretty high up there, allow the weight to waterfall to the upper back area. moving your body through extension, unhinging the hips. Good movement here for the hips, very supportive for the spine. And then using the largest muscle in the body, the glute, getting the glute to do some work here as well. So this is really lovely, one of my favorites. Taking tension out of the upper back and neck, the spine through extension and flexion, using the glutes, flexing and extending the hips and the muscles that mobilize the hips. So a lot of stuff is happening here. Go slow. You may feel your glutes at this point. If you need to stop, you can stop. Feel the glutes as they contract to lift the weight of your body away from the floor. Wherever you are, you're going to finish when your right hand comes up and your head goes to the left. And then you're going to bring yourself back to center. Walk your feet a little closer to your body. This extension position in the spine, stretching or strengthening the back, so important. Let's take the head, reach the head so that the middle of the head touches the floor, the block, or whatever's between your legs. Squeezing the block. So start to squeeze really strong. Feel those inner thighs turn on, and that activates pelvic floor. Contract your core towards center, push your low back into the floor. The arms are down alongside your body, palms are facing in, thumbs are up. Then you're going to come halfway up. For those of you that know how to clasp and slide your shoulder blades to the spine, go ahead, do that. For those of you that don't, or that's not appropriate for you, for those that it is, you'll know it. So for the rest of you, let's bend the arms, let the upper arm bones rest on the floor, palms face each other, fingers are open. Keep a lot of energy flowing in your fingers. Now squeeze your block, squeeze the heck out of your tushy and your block. Lift your pelvis a little higher if you can. And then notice that the weight is coming to the upper back, not into the head and neck. Use your hands if you need. Push your feet into the floor, bring your awareness to your feet. Push your feet into the floor evenly. Squeeze your block, squeeze your tushy. Feel that strength behind your back. Push your feet into the floor. Feel your tushy. Now bring your awareness to your back. The muscles of the back are contracting to help push the spine forward into an extension position. Then the front of the spine is opening. The vertebra between the vertebra, the muscles are stretching, the little tiny muscles that are on the spine. Let's take one more breath. And then when you come down, let it be nice and slow so you find movement in your spine, pressing one bone at a time towards the floor. Bringing yourself all the way down. Let's take the block out to the side. Let's draw the knees into the chest and let's go side to side. And then roll onto your right side. Cradle your head with your arm. Let your left leg be a piston. This is going to be a helper. Take your left hand on the floor, spread it really wide. You're going to look down at your left hand, use your left leg to kick away, lead with your shoulder, not your head, and push yourself away from the floor. Let's bring ourselves all the way up. We're going to do a little plank pose here. We're going to come onto the floor and do a little bit more back stretch, strengthening. Take your hands very forward and very wide, and you're going to move your body in whatever position feels good for you. If going around in a big circle feels good for you, it won't for everyone. You're going to roll around in your shoulders, roll around in your hips. For some of you, that may feel good. For some others, maybe rocking forward and back may feel good, or rocking side to side. Just find whatever movements feel good here in your joints. And if you'd like, closing your eyes will take you to a place maybe of feeling and noticing. And especially those of you that have issues, we don't want to go too big. So you want to listen to your body and know where it's appropriate to go. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's take our hands. We're going to do a plank pose for a minute. And that's not for all of you, I know, but it's a great way to do a big strengthening pose in your day. So the plank pose can be, this would be plank. This would be the modification of plank.
or you can come down into the dolphin modification or the dolphin full, depending on what your issues are in your tissues. Okay, or what you want, what you need. Pointer fingers are forward. Let's take one leg back and then the other, depending on whatever you're going to do. Do whatever is right for you. Look down at your hands and press your hands into the floor if you're up on your hands. If you're on your forearms, push your elbows and your forearms into the floor to activate that upper body and that shoulder girdle. Fingers on the floor. If you press the fingers into the floor, you'll help to take some of that pressure out of the wrist. So really push the fingertips into the floor like crazy. And then lengthen from the crown of your head, down the back of your neck, by the shoulder blades, down to the middle of the back, then the low back, and then come to the sacrum and the tailbone, and then start to point the tailbone down towards the bottom edge of the mat. If you want to do something a little more intense, you can lift one foot off at a time. Not for everyone. Three-legged plank, and then the other. And then come down, and then let's come all the way out. Take our wrists, shake, shake, shake. Notice what you notice there. It's nice to do some of these multi-muscular movements. So we did the bridge and then the plank, and these are using a lot of muscles. So if there's times where you only want to do a few asana poses, or you want to get the most bang for your buck and get as much muscular strengthening with a pose or two, the bridge pose is fantastic for the back of the body. The plank pose is great for the front of the body, and it's a really great way to make sure you get a lot of muscular action. Okay, we're going to come down onto the floor, so let's take the blanket a little bit lower on the mat. When you come down, you want the blanket to be on your pelvic area so that these hip bones are not pressing into the floor. Walk back a little bit on your mat, and then take your hands forward. So the hands are a little bit wider than shoulders, and they're forward of shoulders. And then you bring your body so that you have alignment of wrists, elbows, and shoulders. And then you bend the elbows slowly in at the side. So don't let your elbows go out. Don't let your tushy. People try this. They have the tushy up and they're trying to go down to the floor, but you can't get down when you're like that. You need your pelvis to be forward and your elbows staying at the side, and you go slow. Another way to keep that strength in the upper body. And you got to have the alignment in the joint so you don't hurt yourself. Come onto your Sphinx pose, which is here. Sphinx pose, elbows are underneath your shoulders. And then I want you to walk yourself over to the left. So walk yourself over to the left. So the right elbow is underneath the right shoulder. Push your hands into the floor and lift your body away from the floor. You may feel, I want to say should, but I'm not going to say should. You probably will feel a pretty strong stretch on the right side of the body. If your body's to the left, you're laterally flexing your spine. Push your elbows into the floor and your hands. Pull your lower ribs away from your pelvis, and then push your arms into the floor and try to lift away from the floor. Feel a stretch on the right lower rib area. This is stretching. And if you have a little bit more range of motion in your body, you can actually push yourself away from the floor and lift your elbows up, feeling a real long, deep stretch. And pull your ribs away from your pelvis, so no crunching that low back. Try to let the tushy be soft here, and then bring yourself down. Come over to the other side. So your pelvis is on the floor. You're laterally flexing over. You walk over now to the right. The left elbow is underneath left shoulder. You push your hands in and you lift your rib cage away from the floor, and you lift your ribs away from the pelvis. So create as much stretch there. So maybe the top of the psoas is getting stretched, which is attached to your lumbar spine. Some of that side body connective tissue that's pretty strong. If pulling away from the floor, lifting up is appropriate, just find what feels okay for you. Take one more breath. And then you're going to bring yourself back. Come to center. Walk your elbows underneath your shoulders and really lift find length in your spine so you're moving your ribs away from your pelvis. To come down onto the floor, take your forearms, bending the elbows. One palm goes on top of the other.
Let the forehead go on top of the back of the hand. Take your feet a little wide and wiggle your body here. Try to find a little bit of relaxation in that low back. And then bring yourself to neutral. So take the legs, lift the leg up and roll the leg in the socket. Leg is straight, no bend in the knees. Lift the leg off the floor, roll the inner thigh up towards the sky. When you place that leg down, let all 5 toenails touch the floor. Let the pinky toe touch the floor. That's important. Inhale, lift the other leg up, roll the leg in the socket, and let the toenails touch the floor. So this gives a little bit more space in the low back. So with this next one, we're going to strengthen the back body. If you would like, you can, we're first going to do legs. So we're going to lift one leg up at a time. This really strengthens the glute. It also comes here to the low back. So I want you to be careful that you don't crunch yourself when you do this. So let's inhale, lift one leg, exhale, lower. Notice your ego. Notice the part of you that tries to muscle through everything and tries to lift. Oh, I'm going to lift really high. This is not about how high do you go. This is about activating the muscles of the legs. I want you to go slow so you feel what's happening. You have the potential to strengthen the back of the body here, and you have the potential to go too quickly and poke the monster if you have issues in those tissues. Now let's take the right hand out. The head goes on the left hand. Let's inhale, left leg, right hand. Reach your right hand away, reach your left leg away. Create as much space in your body as you can. And then let's exhale, come to the other side. Go slow so you feel the muscles contract, like a slow fist happens. And then this fist slowly releases. Left hand is out, right leg is away. Inhale, lift left hand, right leg. Take one more breath and then go slow. Take your feet wide, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And then bring your right hand up. Let's roll onto our right side. We have another opportunity to move thoughtfully in our body. Taking your left hand on the floor, left leg is going to be like a piston. Inhale, then exhale. Push your left hand in, let your left hand reach away to bring you up. Let's come up. Let's do a little stretch for the lower back. First, the upper back. You're going to take your hands forward and wide. So only the thumbs are on the mat and the fingers are off. And then the pelvis is still up in the air, and you might need to take your hands off the mat actually, and then put the forehead on the mat. Keep the pelvis in the air. Maybe you can put your hands closer together. Play with this. It depends on your range of motion. I want you to feel a stretch underneath your armpit area, and that'll happen if your pelvis feels like it's falling away. If your pelvis is right above your knees, it's not going to do it. You have to have your pelvis hovering above the middle calf. Puppy dog. And the back is nice and flat here. So even for osteoporosis, this is hip flexion. You're bending your hip and your knees. You're not bending your spine. And the shoulder blades are on the back. You could lift your armpits away from the floor so the shoulder blades are definitely on the back, supporting the spine. Feel the stretch wherever you feel the stretch, underneath the armpit probably, or the chest. Try to push the heart towards the ground. And then let's bring ourselves up. We're going to stretch the low back. So this is not for everyone, definitely not for people with osteoporosis. Let's come onto your tushy. It's turtle pose. Reach down, grab a hunk of flesh, move the hunk of flesh back so you expose your sits bones. And then the soles of the feet come together. Soles of the feet come together. Your hands go in the middle and they go underneath your knees or underneath your calves.
So underneath the knees, underneath the calves. And if you can, you come to hold on to the top of the feet. Let the tailbone go into the floor and lengthen your spine, lengthen your spine. This is more about finding length in your spine, not about rounding your spine, but there is a flexion aspect to this. I'll move to the side so you can see this. So this is a tough one for some, or for many, I should say. Bringing your hands through, your hands go, and then your tailbone is what's moving down to the ground. Feel that stretch in the low back. Only do things that are appropriate for your body. The lower you go, you could even keep your arms out to the side and use the forearms to press into the leg bones to get a little bit of traction so that you're lifting your rib cage, lower rib cage away from your pelvis, pushing your tailbone into the ground. There's a lot of stretching taking place here in the posterior hip capsule area, so the external rotators are stretching. It's also stretching the low back muscles. But there is a roundness that comes into the spine here. Hopefully not too much. So this is not about thoracic flexion, but for those with osteoporosis, I wouldn't recommend this. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself all the way up. Let's take our legs. Shake, shake, shake. All right. Coming on to all fours. So depending on who's here, who's watching this, it will depend on what your range of motion is. For some of you, you may need to come to a foot forward. We're going to come to standing and then bring yourself up like that. And for others, I'd like you to come through a plank down dog flow. So this is definitely a little bit more challenging. You're going to take your hands forward, pointer fingers are forward, walk your knees to the end of your blanket, feet are wide, knees are wide. Flip your toes under, inhale. As you exhale, tailbone goes into the sky, pelvis goes into the sky. And then try to get the outer edge of the heel one at a time towards the floor. And let your head look forward kind of by the forearm area so that you're not rounding that upper spine. Let's inhale to come forward. Exhale to come up. Inhale forward. Exhale back. Go slow. Inhale forward. Exhale back. Stay here. Bend your knees. Gazes forward. Walk your hands back until your feet touch the floor. Take one hand at a time. Keep your back pretty flat here. And then you're going to slowly bring yourself up. Okay. Maybe a little intense. Let's take the props off to the side. Maybe a chair for some of you. You may need a chair if balance is an issue. Having a chair in front of you can be nice and stabilizing, or being near a wall can be really nice. So find what's appropriate for you. And I'm just going to put my chair off to the side for a second. So find what's appropriate for you. And then I'd like you to bring yourself with your legs pretty wide and let your toes point forward here. And let's go, like, let one foot take the weight, let the other, but don't let the foot leave the floor. So it's almost like you come towards your toes still touch. Just get some movement back and forth in the body. You could actually visualize that you're in the ocean. So you could allow that weightlessness to come into the body, trying to move through joints in different ranges of motion, getting some whatever there, whether it's fluidity or more space or stretching something. Then I want you to take your arm and I want you to lead with your elbow. Let your elbow go back. It's going to bring in spinal rotation. I want it to feel appropriate for your body. Your feet are locked on the floor right now, so your pelvis will only move in the way that it can, and I want you to allow whatever your body, whatever it wants to do. I think I mentioned earlier in this class today that what I notice for people with low back when they hurt themselves, it's usually because they were bending and rotating. So bending down to get something and then reaching over. So there's flexion, and usually they're not bending like I did there. It's usually bending the spine and then rotating the spine. And that's a lot of pressure on the spine. So something like this is actually, hopefully, bringing in rotation and movement and stretch and range of motion in the joints to whatever, to realign it, to stretch it, to get it to move in places that maybe sometimes it doesn't. And then you're going to come to a static. So now you're going to have your feet grounded. You're going to come and let this rotation come into your body. Hands are low. So this is not shoulders are up here and things are happening. This is shoulders are down here, letting your body go. And this actually now twists and goes all the way down towards the ankles. So see what feels appropriate for you. Let your arms be loose when you do this. I'd say that it's really nice for you to move your body and be in your body so you can see what happens, especially if those of you that tend to be more stiff. If you imagine that when you do this, that you're in water and that you're letting the water take your body weight. So it is more fluid. Like if you were in the water and we were kicking and moving our arms around, it would be so fluid and movable, right? So try to find that water movement in your body here, even though you're not in water. Think about the water of your body, the fluids of your body, the fluidity of your joints. And then we're going to like bring some movement into the feet. So take your foot, flip your foot under. This is where the chair for some of you may need to be a part of this, because if you have tight feet, you may need to go a little farther back and put more bend in your joints. If you're bending your joints, you're loading up your joints, try to put the weight in the heel here. So you stay in the back of the body and you're not putting everything into your knee. See how my knee goes forward there as opposed to here. Now I'm in my heel. Now I'm in my toes and I'm aggravating this joint. Now I'm in my heel, my tushy does it all, the largest area, largest muscle. Let's do the other foot. So I think learning how to move more safely in your body is that in and of itself is what's going to help keep you strong, keep you healthy, and keep you out of pain and keep you safe, is to increase your body awareness knowledge. Either that or you just imagine I spend my life in the ocean and you think of your daily movements as swimming as opposed to walking. That's kind of a nice thing, right? All right, and take your feet. Let's bend your feet, lifting up off the floor. Now, isn't this something you could do every day in your life? Couldn't you every day, wherever you are, do this? Especially if you find yourself in a stressful situation and you find yourself eating more, so taking in more calories, or in a stressful situation where you're eating more stuff coming in, not just food, but news and all that stuff. You could be doing this all the time, moving your body, burning, utilizing the energy that you bring in. Okay, we're going to do a warrior dance, one of my favorite little movement patterns to do when I want to connect to my breath. We're going to do this and move fluidly through this. So chair in the front if you feel that you need that. Not all of you do, some do. And then being near a wall is nice as well. Let's take your feet really wide here and the toes are pointing forward. We're going to go to the left side first. Pick up the left toes. Keep the left leg straight, so don't bend the left knee. Let the entire left leg move over to the left and your body will move with it. Take the right heel, move the right heel away. Now, the important thing here is that down this right side, that pinky toe edge, you make a very firm foundation. So even look down, and if the whole pinky toe edge presses into the floor, you should feel a stretch over your ankle joint. And then grab the floor with the right foot and lift the right arch off the floor. Put a bend in that left knee. Take your shoulders forward, up, back, and down. You're going to inhale, bring your hands up. Make sure that your knee is not over that ankle joint. So you have to have a wide stance. That's why I say chair for those of you. And you're going to take your arms out. This is a warrior two. Push the left knee to the left. Really activate that right foot. Grab the floor with both feet. This is a warrior two. Now zipper up your belly. Zipper, zipper, zipper. Point your tailbone down towards the ground. Then turn the left hand up. Inhale to bring the left hand. Go slow. Reach the fingers away from you. Feel that stretch coming into the left side body. Reach, reach, reach. Let the right hand go down the back leg. Inhale here. This is a reverse warrior. Push your heart forward. Zipper up your belly. Point your tailbone down. Inhale. And then you're going to exhale. Keep your knee bent. Come forward. Arm goes on that thigh. and the right hand goes up. If you want, you could bring your arm on the inside of that knee joint, pushing that knee away. This is side angle. If you could go a little deeper, go a little deeper. Load up your joints. Develop the strength in the joints. Keep the knee bent. Let's inhale into that reverse. And exhale into the side angle. Now, if you want it to be a little bit more challenging, you don't lean on that front elbow when you come forward. Try to let the rib cage move and flow fluidly over that pelvis. One more. Stretch, stretch, stretch your body glove. Come back into the warrior two. And then unbend the knee slowly. We're going to go to the other side. Toes are pointing forward. Let your legs be straight. Lift up the right toes and point the right toes to the right. And then lift up the left heel moves away from you. Slight bend in that right knee. Firm foundation in that left foot. Pinky toe edge right over that left ankle joint. Grab the floor and lift and activate that arch. Bend that right knee. Shoulders are forward, up and back. Push that right knee to the right. Push away from the floor. Inhale. Hands come up. This is the warrior two. Push the arms away to the side. Push your feet into the floor. Bring that power up into the pelvis. Zipper up the belly. Tailbone points down towards the ground. Right hand up towards the sky. Reach away with length. Pull the lower right ribs away from the top of the right pelvis. Feel that beautiful stretching in your body. Fingertips are up towards the sky. Back hand is down the back leg. Bend that knee a little bit more if you can. Push your feet into the floor. So feel that power starting at the floor. And then you're going to inhale to come forward into your reverse. Bring your hand on your thigh. Hand is up. You could bring the hand on that inner knee and then zipper up the pelvis. Let's start to move. Inhale. Keep your feet pressing into the floor. Draw the energy up to your pelvis and then lift and lengthen your pelvis up and away, using your arms to help lift the lower ribs away from that pelvis, creating space in your body, releasing tension, stored stress, stored muscular tension from thoughts from last week, from yesterday, from years ago, from lifetimes ago, flowing through this like you're in water. Inhale, exhale, and then one more. Bringing yourself back to a warrior two, and then bring yourself all the way up. Shake your legs, notice what you notice. Lots of strength here in the quadriceps, so important for keeping our body strong and letting this body take us all over and do what it needs to do. All right, we're gonna come down onto the ground. The good news is it's almost over. So we're gonna come down to prepare for the Shavasana. If you'd like to have the chair again or whatever, you're gonna bring that down with you. Bringing yourself all the way down onto the floor, whichever way you need to get there. And you're gonna bring your knees into the chest so that you can relax the spine, and then bring the legs and the arms up into the sky. Do that, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Allow that relaxation to come into your body. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle your hands, wiggle your legs. And then knees to the chest, and then find yourself into whatever is your pose of relaxation. Stay connected to the breath.
Begin to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Wiggling the fingers, the toes, the ankles, the wrist. Bringing movement back into your body. You can bring your legs in the air, your hands in the air, if that feels good to you, or just draw the knees straight into your chest. Feel your body. Notice if you notice any changes or anything in your body. And bring yourself onto your side. Gently pushing away from the floor to bring yourself to a seated position. Before we close the practice, thinking about how we began the practice today. Let's take our hands, close your eyes, let your thumbs touch your sternum bone and lay your neck. Think about how we began the practice today, talking about all that we came from to be where we are today. The lineage that we came from and all that they endured for generations for us to be born into this life. And taking the time out of being strong, being healthy, noticing how the stress and not taking a break from that stress or not the healing, repairing zone of the body, how that can have a major effect on every aspect of us, mental, emotional, physical. And how today was the opportunity to tap into healing and this raised awareness of self-care, self-preservation. So let's bring that into our ending with sound, connecting to that commitment of the sound, the letter N. Take a deep breath down to the belly. We bow to each other in namaste. Namaste. Thank you, thank you. So, hope you feel good.
You feel good. You, George. I don't know if I knew you were here. Hi, George. You, George. I don't know if I knew you were here. Hi, George. What does a, oh, okay. So I asked George to put his jokes in our comment field for those of you that are here for the jokes. Hi, Dave and Lynn, and hopefully Steve's out there. Enjoy. Because I feel like I'm watering down his jokes because I look through them and I'm like, I can't say that because it's political, or I can't say that because it's sexual, or I can't say that because I think it's going to stimulate some negative thoughts. I'm like, and my job is to make everything positive and happy and de-stress. So I asked him to put his jokes here in the comment box, because for those that were with George in person, it was great to have a nice chuckle on Saturdays. So he put some here. What does a tightly run prison and an English book have in common? Sentence structure. That is kind of one of the cleaner ones I probably would have chosen. What do you call a hospital clinician with contagions on his lab coat? A welcome, Nancy. Joanne, oh, you're here, Saturday friends. You're taking this Saturday off. Oh, that's so sweet. She popped in to even say that. Gosh, I love that. And I said hi to Dave and Lynn. Dave, today I think would be good for you. Dina, you're welcome. And then George, great. Who doesn't want to feel great? Isn't that what this is about? Let's feel good. Let's do whatever we can to make ourselves good. Why are we not doing that more often? All right, I'm off for a week. I will be back on Saturday, November 21st. I had to figure it out. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and I look forward to my week off, and I look forward to seeing you whenever I see you. All right, bye.